if we want to define the new social movement, then how we can define a new social movement? Then we can make comparison. Because there is nothing like old social movement, but a social movement. But in our syllabus, it is a new social movement. And look, in Indian government and politics too, there is study of social movements. There's so much repetition. How we can compare between social movement and new social movement? Look, social movement was influenced by Marxist ideology. Social movement was influenced by Marxist ideology, but new social movement is not affiliated with any ideology. Is not affiliated with any ideology. Second, since it was evolved by Marxist ideology, therefore peasants movement, it is a workers movement. But here it is not peasant, it is not workers, but it is environmental movement, ecological movement, feminist movement. See, peace movement, consumer movement, see, anti-globalization movement. These are form of new social movement. Here, social movement was driven by the principle of economic equality. They were more looking for economic equality. Here, they are not for economic equality, but for quality of life. Quality of life, for dignity, for dignity, quality of life, dignity, and for their identity. For their identity, and probably we can make this comparison here. How? Yes, and unnecessarily we are writing. See how there is a difference between social movement and new social movement. Influenced by Marx, but it is derived there is from Frankfurt School, and Frankfurt School always claim that they are not related with any party politics. And look, they fought against economic inequality because economic equality, exploitation, that was a theme of Marx. But here, quality of life, identity, and dignity of the people, that become very important. And here, workers' movement, peasant movement, and here, feminist, environmental, peace, anti-globalization movement. And here they believe in the destruction of a state, and they want to more democratize the state rather than destruction of a state. And old social movement, it ideological, and somehow they always looking for changing of economy. And here it is a culture, it is a politics, and identity is primary. And look, this social movement is a result of a materialist society, and now we are living in a post-materialist and post-industrial society. And see, post-materialist society means our demand is not for matter. We are not looking for getting more and more economic services. But because in 1970s there was economic prosperity in society, and all the people got their houses, they had a benefit of education, free of cost healthcare. These facilities they're availing earlier, but what they need, a dignity, identity, and that is reason new social movement is speak for environmental purity, ecological purity, and they speak for lesbian identity, dignity. And here workers and peasants were the key for a revolution. And now, can you find out workers? No. Now the managerial class in modern society, because this post-industrial society, and in post-industrial society you cannot find out the workers, they're managers, and they are not willing to bring about a revolution. But we are looking for a more democratization. And how more democratization? And because society should be democratized, economic system should not be capitalist, party, bureaucracy, pressure groups, right to information. These are the important factor which they are demanding. And this is the reason why we can make a distinction between social movement and new social movement. And if we want to again explain that difference between social movement and new social movement, look how we can give some theoretical examples. How we can give some theoretical examples. Because if we want to explain about new social movement, we have to remember the most important propounder of this social movement is a Habermas, German sociologist. And Habermas, although the people associated with Frankfurt School like Herbert Marcuse, they were also associated with the new social movement. Noam Chomsky, you can Naomi Klein, various scholars you can, because look, here it is a Noam Chomsky, Naomi Klein. They're also the part of Leklu Mafi. So various scholars are there who are associated with new social movement. But first, look what Habermas says. Habermas says, and it is said that Habermas is the most important theoretician of this new social movement. And see, Habermas in fact want to democratize the state, and Habermas is very much worried of the capitalism. And Habermas says that now capitalism is creating a new threat, because you have to remember the fact that new social movement arrive for strengthening the people, strengthening civil society, and where we are getting threat, that is from technology, from media. Remember, that is not from a non-democratic government. Earlier democracy received threat from non-democratic government. Earlier democracy received threat from the economic inequality, but now this kind of capitalist have evolved new tool for exploiting the people, and state is conniving with them. State is somehow coming with them. Therefore, how we can break down this kind of exploitation? How we can break down the exploitation? And then it is the media power is a new tool. Money is a new tool. Communicate, see, media power, money, and a kind of cultural industry, industry of culture. And Habermas very beautifully says that, see, communicative action is more important, normative consensus is more important in the democracy. Communicative action simply means debate, discussion, dialogue. But these capitalists are discouraging the debate, discussion, and dialogue. And can you enjoy the life world? And life world means a social world, a world of community. Life world is social world, world of community, and that is more important. But that is suppressed by media, that is suppressed by culture, and through media, through culture, and they want to project that human being is merely spectator, not a doer. And they want to they want to they want to make a new ideology of the capitalist culture. And for preservation of capitalism, they are utilizing media, they are utilizing technology, and these are the new threat for democracy. And if this new threat is coming, and then it is a responsibility of people to come and protest regarding these problems, because what is problem with capitalism? And because new social movement is nothing to do with capitalism versus Marxism, although they are against the capitalism, but they always say that we are not criticizing capitalism from Marxist point of view. And same time, the new social people who believe in new social movement, they said that this state is not talking about environmental purity, they are not talking about the right of feminist. And then feminist says that what we receive from the liberalism and capitalism, nothing. The people say that they are not talking about the environmental purity, and they are talking that we can solve your all problem through technical and through economic means, and that is rejected by Habermas. So Habermas want to strengthen civil society, and that is a life world. Habermas is against the media industry and the industry culture, because now media totally become a tool in hand of capitalist and corporate houses, which is not communication. With this is a kind of obstacle in the communication, deliberation, discussion, and this is a power. And look, same thing is also said by Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky says that it is manufacturing the consent. Noam Chomsky says that this media is totally run by the corporate houses, and on the name of taking consent, they are only saying that they are making their own propaganda, and how the corporate houses are creating this entire world flooded from a globalization. And Noam Chomsky also said that entire process of globalization is only benefiting the few corporate houses, and it is neither benefiting the people nor benefiting the broader environment. It is only for the well-being of the few corporate houses. And look, and Laclou and Murphy, they also says that now the society is post-industrial. Post-industrial means workers are not here. Managerial class is here. And post-materialist means we don't want to fulfill our material need. We are not demanding for bread and butter. Bread, butter, house and cloth. This is not demanding the demand of the people, but they are looking for a quality of life. And therefore, they want to make a democratic pluralism. Democratic pluralism means, the voice of dissent, the voice of others should be heard, and how the party and pressure group, they should not hijack the democracy. Democracy doesn't mean the game of party and pressure group. And in democracy, what happens? Bureaucracy became very important, party became very important. And in that context, was Rajni Kothari says that no new social movement is a non-party politics. New social movement is a non-party politics, because on the name of civil society, because democratic pluralism means there may be stronger civil society. How we can realize a stronger civil society? Through social movement, because we can't rely over the parties and pressure groups, because they are only the working of few and they want to get power. And here we are standing for well-being of the society, and therefore here we are addressing the identity and demand of new, like a lesbian, like a minorities, and they are feeling suffocated in a very stronger democratic nations too. And this is theoretical interpretation of new social movement. Major theoreticians or major propounder of social movement are Habermas, Laclou, Naomi Klein, and see what is their basic argument. Their basic argument, what is their basic argument of a new social movement? How we can understand the basic argument of new social movement? See, as far as Habermas is concerned, or Habermas, Noam Chomsky, Naomi Klein, they are the major theoreticians of new social movement, and their focus is first on the strengthening of civil society, because without strengthening civil society we can't strengthen the democracy. It means civil society means we the people. If they want to strengthen the civil society directly, indirectly, they are also strengthening democracy. It means the propounders of new social movement, they believe in a radical form of a democracy. What does it mean by radical mean of a democracy? There should be a political dimension of democracy, social too, economic too. It means democracy should not be considered as a form of government, but social democracy there should be. It means democracy should not be changed into majoritarianism, and that is the reason what Habermas says that communicative action and normative consensus, communicative action, and the normative consensus, that is the key of a democratic principle. Communicative action and normative consensus, that is a fundamental principle of a democracy. Normative consensus and communicative action, and civil society is very stronger, and Habermas pointed out that how this democracy is under threat of money power, and technology is also creating a further problem for democracy. You will ask the question, how technology? Technology also creating a problem, because nowadays what is happening, media culture is there, and government and political system always try to convince that they can solve each and every problem through managerial and technical way, although problem is ideological. See how we can solve the poverty. What is a managerial and technical way to solve the poverty? See, launching NRHM, Manrega. These are the managerial and technical method to solve the problems like poverty. But what is the ideological problem? Capitalism. So capitalism is a problem, and now the corporate houses are reigning over the world. And under the grab of globalization, how there is a strong presence of corporate house in this entire world, and therefore we are witnessing a new threat for democratic principles, where people are marginalized. Because science, what is the harm for science? See, most of the people, they want to understand human world, that is what was said by life world, through the scientific principles. We can't apply scientific principles for understanding the human society, because human emotions are there. And just imagine a condition in COVID-19, how you can measure the pain of the people, psychological trauma of the people, only through some scientific tools. Therefore, what Habermas says, that we are not like a spectator, just like sitting in a stadium of a cricket match. And here in democracy, each and every citizen is a player, and therefore there should be more and more participation in the government. But they are somehow discouraging the participation on the basis of their industry culture, propaganda machinery, and by the power of a media and money. It means new social movement, they are in favor of a strong civil society. Therefore, they are in support of a participatory democracy. It means they are not anti-democrat. They are supporting the participatory democracy, and they are supporting a form of radical democracy. And moreover, they speak for inclusive development, sustainable development, and that is a view why new social movement emerge. Their stress is over the inclusive development. Their stress is over the sustainable development. And in that way, how, if you want to strengthen the civil society, again, we can use a term of Leclou-Murphy. What Leclou-Murphy says, that democratic pluralism. Leclou-Murphy believe in a democratic pluralism. It means, why democratic pluralism? Because there are political parties, pressure groups in a democratic form of government. Apart from that, social movement are more stronger forces. And why we are harming the democratic pluralism? Whosoever claiming that we are in the government, therefore nobody is allowed to speak, we are harming democratic pluralism. The importance of each and every group we should respect, whether they are in minority. Therefore, the people who are lesbians, they can't be suppressed. The people who are a minority, their voice must be respected, and that is all about the normative consensus. Democracy doesn't mean taking each and every decision by majority. Therefore, you will realize that why there was a need of a social movement, new social movement, despite the fact that we had a democratic form of government. Because women claim that our concern is not addressed by the democratic form of government. Then environmental activist says that this government is only promoting for a more and more consumerism. And in that context, look, Naomi Klein. See, Naomi Klein. See, if you Naomi Klein is writing against anti-globalization. See, what is the argument of Naomi Klein? See, Naomi Klein says that she led the kind of anti-globalization movement, and Naomi Klein wrote a book that is No Logo. See, what is the crux of this entire capitalism, and what is the motto of this capitalism? They are promoting a kind of consumerism, and that is harmful for the ecology, harmful for the environment. And look, they're making a brand. The logo means they're making a brand, and that brand is promoting consumerism because same sort of brand is preferred by each and everyone living in this planet. So we are ultimately harming the entire ecological system, and it is only benefiting the few corporate houses. And apart from that, see, Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky is also a person who speak for a new social movement, and Noam Chomsky says that Noam Chomsky also speaks like Habermas, because the focus over the new social movement is simple. First, they are opposing capitalism. Second, they want to strengthen civil society. Third, they want to strengthen democracy. And for them, the problem of society is ideological. It is not like mechanical or technical. We can't give managerial solution from the existing problem of the world. We have to take it ideologically. Therefore, what Chomsky says that now corporatism is creating a kind of culture, and they are claiming that it means manufacturing the consent. What Chomsky is of the view that now we are in an age where the consent is manufactured. It means people has not given their consent, but how the system is claiming that no, we have taken your consent. We have taken your consent. And further, Chomsky says that entire process of globalization is only benefiting a few corporate houses, and it is harming the entire environmental discourse, ecological balance. And this is theme of a new social movement. So they speak for a minority section of society, therefore democratic. They speak for a woman, which is a larger part of society, but is still ignored and neglected in the larger discourse of a democracy. They speak for a sustainable development, inclusive development, and that is a theme of a new social movement. That is a theme. And last, how we can make a distinction between new social movement in the north or in developed world and in developing country. How we make a distinction, although the theme is same, but how we can make a distinction between new social movement of developed world and developing country. See, look what happens in the developed countries, in the Europe, US, new social movement in developed country, and in India, Africa, Asia, like developing world. See, their major theme is same because their objective is same. As far as the new social movement is concerned, objective is same, but in developed world, when new social movement emerged, that was around 1970s. That was a phase of a theoretical development of new social movement. Practically, it became more vital from 1980s onwards. And new social movement in developed nations, that is a propounded by educated youngsters living in urban areas or cities. If you look, this new social movement is propounded by the people who live in urban areas or city, and they were more care about the quality of life, because you have to accept the fact that Now the people living in developed nation, they are in a stage of a post-industrial and post-materialist society. And that is very important. See, because social economic condition of Europe is entirely different in comparison to Asia, Africa, or third world. They are living in a post-industrial society, post-materialist society, and in that condition, our situation is entirely different. As far as in developing world is concerned, we are still looking for industrialization. Modi is still emphasizing over industrialization. Our government is stressing over the entire process of we want to integrate more and more from the process of globalization. So we are looking for more and more material need. So here we are still awaiting the industrial and the materialistic development of society. Therefore, the society is different in developing nation as well in developed nation, and automatically new social movement that was forwarded by the educated people who were living in the urban centers, cities, but the situation is entirely different in Asia and Africa, including India. Here, it is led by the villagers. New social movement emerged in a village in India, and look, the most important new social movement that was the ecological movement in form of a Chipko movement. Chipko movement that was initiated by villagers, and therefore it is also known as a grass root movement. It is a grassroot movement. Grassroot means that is emerging from village. That is emerging from the village, and here it is emerging from the cities, urban centers. And look, Chipko means it was a movement for hugging the tree, and they were against the felling down of tree in Uttarakhand. Now in Uttarakhand, earlier it was in UP. And Chandi Prasad Bhatt and Gaura Devi, they were the people. And apart from Chipko movement, there was Epico movement in Karnataka. And this is a Narmada Bachao Andolan, NBA. So there are numerous movements which are in the form of new social movement, and they are started by villagers. And one example is Chipko, Epico, Narmada Bachao Andolan, NBA. And almost all this movement, they were led by the marginalized section of society. They were initiated by the tribal society who were living in the village. And now you can understand the fact that why there is a need of a new social movement, because political parties are not very much concerned regarding their issues, and they are not powerful enough to make a pressure group. And this again proves that why we need a new social movement. Look the difference here. Second, therefore emergence is there is a difference in emergence. And second, since developed nations are in post-industrial condition, post-material condition, therefore their purpose is not to get the better material life economic condition. They are now seeking a quality of life. Therefore, what is the purpose of ecological movement? The entire purpose of ecological movement, that was merely a quality of life, and it means economic prosperity was not at all intention behind the new social movement in Europe and US. But in India, that is not a condition. Or in developing world, in new social movement, apart from quality of life, economic issues are equally important. Therefore, our social movement are not driven only by the ecological sentiment. Yes, in Chipko movement, because the most affected group was a woman, and because felling down tree, undoubtedly it has certain ecological impact. But apart from that, all the women who were living in village, they were dependent over. See, these wooden of forest for their kitchen. It means LPG. These kind of LPG was not available at that time in 1970s. Therefore, women have to collect the wooden from the forest in order to cooking the meals. Therefore, their economic dependence was on the forest. And equally important was the concern to uh, quality of life too. Ecology was also a issue because there was a huge impact of the flood which occurred in the river in the some rivers of Uttarakhand in 1970s, and they have realized that how unmanaged development created this kind of flood in Uttarakhand. So therefore, economic issue was also there, but ecological balance was also in their mind. But as far as a condition in developed nation is there, their new social movement are somehow totally detached from the economic concern. And that is the reason how we can make a distinction between the old social movement and new social movement. Although it is only social movement, not old. Economic factors was the basis in the old social movement, or it was a social movement, but now it is a purely ecological concern, environmental concern. But in developing nations like ours, both environmental as well as economic concern, both are very much interlinked with each other. And again, look in the developed nation. On the one hand, ecological movement was there. On the other hand, feminist movement, lesbian movement, so anti-globalization movement. Although anti-globalization movement is very much there in the developed nation too. Anti-globalization movement is very much there in each and every part of the world, and sometimes you always raise their voice against the Kudankulam project. See, for against the setting up of a thermal power project. So there is social movement behind that. But in Indian condition, the feminist movement and ecological movement, they are very much interrelated with each other. And in that case, if you want to search the emergence of feminist movement in the modern Indian democracy, then again we have to mention the Chipko movement, because the majority of the people who were involved in Chipko movement, they were women. And women face a double dilemma. Women face a double problem because the male section of society, they have somehow given some alcohol by the company. The cement company was got the contract for the felling down of trees. It means the woman face a double dilemma. From first, thrashing from their husband beaten at the woman because they got the alcohol, they consumed the alcohol that was provided from the side of company itself. And on the other hand, it means first they felt problem like a domestic violence, and then there was a problem over economy too, and same time there was a environmental issue. Therefore, each and everything was very much interrelated with each other in the context of developing world. But and again, this kind of social movement, this is a part of our syllabus in the government and politics section, because in civil rights movement, the like movement of Anna Hazare, feminist movement, and ecological movement, this is a part of our syllabus in Indian government and politics. Again, we are only mentioning that in comparative politics. Therefore, comparative politics is a borrowed subject, something we have taken from our international relations, something from theory, and something from Indian government and politics. Then we are making comparative politics. In that way, we can make a clear-cut distinction between how a difference exists between the new social movement that started in the developed world and in developing country. But again, whenever you are writing that distinction, you have to mention the name of scholars, and you have to speak Habermas, Noam Chomsky, and here is Rajni Kothari, Ghanshyam Shah, who spoke for a social movement, But despite their differences, some commonality can also be found, or there is more commonality than differences. True, because of the circumstances, because of the difference in social economic condition, difference is bound to exist. Therefore, there is a difference between developed nation and developing nation as far as the new social movement is concerned. And apart from that, there is some common subject, there is some commonality. What is commonality? Because both want to strengthen democracy. democracy or participatory democracy. That is the objective of new social movement. They are not revolutionary. They don't want to overthrow the entire system like Marxist, but they want to democratize the system. They are asking for transparency. They are asking for a more responsible, accountable government. And they are also demanding for more inclusive development. Inclusive development, and that is more important for both developing as well as developed nation. Although lesbian movement is not powerful enough still in developing world, but we can't discard that. We can't discard that. Therefore, they speak for more inclusive development and sustainable development. It means, and how we can imagine a sustainable development without the protection of environment. So protection of environment is equally important for strengthening the sustainable development. It means, by and large, they are also looking for strengthening the role of civil society. And until and unless we are not strengthening role of civil society, we can't practice democracy, because democracy doesn't mean only holding the elections once in a 5 year. Democracy, the essence of democracy lies in a strong civil society. Essence of democracy does not lie only in the institutions of governance like parliament, like elections, or political parties or pressure groups. In that way, there is a more similarity in the new social movement which is present in the developed world and developing world. And how we can conclude, in fact, now there is a concept of global civil society which is emerging because of this globalization. And now this global civil society is very much interlinked. This global civil society is very much interlinked with each other, and therefore this social movement is also interlinked with each other. In that case, what is a social movement going on in India that is supported by the human rights activists across the world? And look, some NGOs, that is like Greenpeace, they are supporting all environmental ecological movement that is going on in the each and every part of the world. So now we are living in a society where there is a concept of global civil society. In that way, new social movement is also becoming a global in nature. Therefore, division between developing and developed nation is true, but it is not very hard and fast. See, this is all about new social movement.